out my opinions. I had made a suggestion to the legislature that a part of women's parliament, they should include men. Opinions and our outcries are not falling on deaf ears. What I do in my corner spot, I employ 3 young persons, 2 females, and 1 male. So thank you, Chair. That's as much as I can say for now.
Thank you, Priscilla. Can we go to panelist number 2, Apostolic Aria Moko Hops, to introduce yourself, ma'am?
Motivate young people and also advocate for women as far as their issues are concerned. So I am happy to be part of this dialogue and hope that I will contribute meaningfully to the community of the Westrand at large. Thank you very much.
On your response. I'll start first with our first panelist, who's dealing with the topic of the wanton looting and the destruction of public property and the impact it has on us as women. What are the impact does the destruction of the public property on us as women? Melerato, what is the impact of the destruction of public property has on us? Melerato? Says Priscilla.
And the impact it has on women. The looting that took place in July this year was an outcry of the public regarding the economical state of our country. These actions were mainly directed towards the arrest of Jacob Zuma. But as we all know, not everybody who was doing this was doing it with the purpose of being helpful, but destructive. These actions were mainly directed to destroy our country's economical state. Places that were affected were malls and warehouses. These places currently employ a lot of women. When a mall is burned down, it takes up to 24 months to recover. And what happens in this 24 months where a woman was employed in a mall and now is no longer in existence? There is no income in their household. Unfortunately, women who work in malls, they work long hours, more than any other sector in our country. They wake up very early at approximately 4 o'clock in the morning. They have to bath their kids, they have to dress them up, feed them, and then they have to take the kids to school. At 8 o'clock, they have to report to duty at their work. And unfortunately, they knock off at 6 p.m. in the evening. This does not mean directly that when you knock off at 6 p.m., you're home at 6 p.m. Often they have to catch taxis, get home, tired, do the same routine every day. Burning and looting of malls affect such women because it completely cuts off their sources of income. In our country, we have a strong culture of stokvels. And amongst these stokvels, we have a lot of women who club in and save their money so that they can afford to do things for themselves, such as improving their households, buying furniture in their houses, possibly extending where they stay. I also add to the point that people who are employed in malls don't often own property because of their income bracket. This does not allow them to do so. Women and children are the ones who suffer the brunt of this. I run a shop where I actually employ 3 people. Out of those 3 people, I have 2 females who are under the age of 35, and I also have 1 male. So throughout the looting processes, we suffered a week of loss of income where we were not able to open the shop because there was threats to our businesses. And we also lost a lot of income in this process. So now, once everything opened up, it didn't mean that immediately we were able to trade because the people we buy our products from were taking their prices higher without actually giving leeway to small businesses like myself. So for example, a practical example I will give you is that a loaf of a 3 kg polony, which I was buying for 68 Rand 99, by the time the looting had ended, I was buying it at 82 Rands. So now this made me suffer as an employee But since I'm a person who likes to ask a lot of questions, I had to ask my suppliers, why are the prices so high? And they actually explained that
was lying and she was struggling to breathe. His eyes was just out, you know, and I think also from the fright and because of the fact that he couldn't breathe, you know.
Thank you, Apostolic. Can you share with us the reasons for you to receive the COVID-19 vaccine from your own perspective as an individual, not from the general perspective? Over to you, Apostolic.
Thank you very much. My reasons for accepting COVID-19 vaccine is because, firstly, I'm a very patriotic person who cares for the people as the shepherd of God's flock, as a community worker, as a nurse by profession. Therefore, I have been inoculated with Pfizer twice, and I'm done and dusted because I believe that, as I said initially, I believe that prevention is better than cure. And the fact that you know, as an elderly person, I've got comorbidities. And once you have comorbidities, you know, it's easy for you to have any other virus coming into your body. So I said to myself, I'm going to go for vaccination because I believe that any vaccination that even that I had before, more so that I remember when TB vaccination came through, we're still at school going ages. We were also vaccinated to prevent TB from acquiring TB. So the same, even now, I felt that, why shouldn't I go for vaccination? Because I know better. I've never had TB before. I've never had, I've nursed people with TB, especially when HIV and AIDS came through. I was actually placed in that environment where I could nurse these people who also had symptoms, who had signs also of TB, and who were also diagnosed, actually literally diagnosed as TB. And I could not even acquire that because of what the vaccination that I got whilst I was still at that young, tender age. You know, so I still believe that even measles up to now, there are elderly people that can acquire that. If you have never been vaccinated whilst you were still a baby, you can still get that, and it's very much detrimental when you get that at an older age. A lot of people died because of measles at an older age. So I said to myself, I'm not going to allow myself to go through this when I can prevent also myself from being infected, when I could prevent my loved ones from being infected, when I could prevent my community from being infected, when I could also contribute to the wellness of this country, to see to it that people are healed, people are healthy. More above all, yes, as the shepherd of God's flock, I'm also believing that you know why I accepted this is because I felt that, you know, a lot of people are perishing because of lack of knowledge. Even the Bible says so. So I'm not going to allow myself to perish with the knowledge that I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Apostolic. In other words, you can become a campaigner for the state to tell the people that vaccination is good.
Yes, definitely. So I can do that. I'm
Thank you
at the
for-
forefront of this.
Thank you for that, Apostolic. Can I move to, I hope Dr. Caroline Siddiva is here, the one who should do the gender-based violence for us. Are you in, Dr. Caroline? Can I go to panelist number 4? Dumisani, can you handle the issue of Dr. Caroline? Dumisani?
Okay. Oh,
Is Dr. Siddiva here?
Can you hear me now? Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Is it Dr. Siddiva?
Yes, it's Dr. Siddiva.
Yes, Doctor, can you, glad to hear you. Can you please introduce yourself before I can pose a question to you?
Thank you very much, Honorable Alfina Ndlovana. It's my pleasure to be here in this platform this afternoon. My apologies. It's technology that disadvantaged me, the very technology that we need to fight the gender-based violence scourge. I'm Caroline Siddiva. I'm the author of my recent publication, which is titled A Colorful Dialect. I was recently honored with an award as an SDG Humanitarian Icon of Peace in June this year. I've also been decorated with various accolades attributed to my work as a social activist, empowering women and youth and the creative industry practitioners. That I've been doing in partnership with international stakeholders. I've delivered a lecture in the US on my life as a woman leader in South Africa and presented papers, in academic papers in various platforms. Recently, I delivered a paper in Nigeria on education and the African youth. I've been to the Global Summit for Women in Paris. I've been a speaker of council in Randfontein local municipality. Part of the work that I'm doing in my community, not only in Westrand, because I work beyond boundaries. I work nationally around the country. I work in the continent. Yeah, I work globally. Is to provide training, basic skills training to the disadvantaged communities, to women. I do coaching, I do motivational speaking. Recently, during the lockdown, the level 5 lockdown, we did the social relief in terms of distributing food parcels as well as clothes to the needy. We currently, through our NPOs, our NGOs, and some of the companies which I'm part of, have been allocated 6 interns to assist us in the administration. Yes, I think I'll pause it there because I could go on and on. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Doctor, for your brief explanation of yourself. I just want to find out, Doctor, that are women adequately informed of the support available for victims of the gender-based violence from your own perspective?
Honorable Alfina, to be quite honest, there is support that is sufficient for women, which of course does not exclude the fact that there's more that needs to be done to what is currently available. There are positive stories, there are good stories in terms of accessing such support, but there are challenges as well that we need to highlight, because depending on the geographic situation of the women, which is one of the key factors that impact negatively on women's development and results in the perpetration of gender-based violence, is that you find that the women in remote areas don't have access to such support. Most of the information recently under the so-called fourth industrial revolution, it is disseminated through social platforms, of which most women don't have access to resources such as access to the internet. We have, our government, yes, has tried to have internet put into our local libraries for every member of the community to be able to access it at any given time. But you will find that these women, there are factors also that hinder them from going to those libraries and finding information. The level of education of women is also another factor in terms of not being able to access this support that is available. Because you know that we know that historically women have been disadvantaged also in terms of academic development or empowerment. So yes, those are some of the factors that hinder. Also, there are other factors like cultural factors and all of those other things which impact on this available support, not to reach out sufficiently on the ground. Thank you, Honorable Alfina.
Yeah, thank you. As you know, that gender-based violence is another pandemic which is affecting the entire country. From your own analysis, the program which the government is offering for gender-based violence, are you taking those programs as effective for discouraging gender-based violence? Or do you see them as just programs which are offered for the sake of fulfilling a target which they need to achieve?
Thank you, Honorable Alfina. The programs that the government is offering currently, yes, they are effective. They are effective to a large extent. The only things that we need to do, some of the strategies that can be employed to make them effective even more, is to have collaborative approaches, where various stakeholders come together as opposed to working in silos, so that then we are able to get a bigger impact on through those programs. Many times I've engaged with women through our stakeholders and the platforms that we have access to. It's interesting how women receive such information and participate in such programs when they are introduced to them. In most instances, they would even volunteer to be part of taking these programs further. So that's the positive aspect of it. But my other issue is that in terms of a synergy in government, you find that there is no proper linking when it comes to implementation of these programs in order for them to be effective and to have a bigger impact on the ground. It could be issues of protocols. It could be issues of the type of leadership that we have in government and their level of understanding of what is expected of them in terms of going out there and rolling out these programs. Recently, I was in a shopping mall. Of course, I met a young lady around the age of 28, 30. She approaches me and greets me, and apparently she knows me from wherever she knows me from. Then we have a conversation on the spot. well, for whatever reason, she decides to share with me her plight. She tells me that, I lost my parents, myself and my siblings. So I'm the one who's responsible for my family. I'm working in this retail shop. I don't work on a day-to-day basis. I only come in when I'm called. They're working. They're using a schedule. But her biggest issue that she raised with me, which really caught my emotion, was the fact that because she's earning little, when she gets her salary, she has to first pay the loan shark so that she can borrow again for the next month in order to try and reach as much as possible to addressing the needs of herself and her siblings. Now she's waiting for a loan shark. The loan shark is not coming. So she's worried that there's no bread in the house. They had no food for about 2 days. And the worst thing is that she ended up getting involved in relationships with older men who abused her. She ended up contracting HIV. So she's in that state at this moment, and she started crying and all of that. Well, I tried to make reference for her to an area where she stays, but really the reception that she received there really was not impressive. So these are some of the stumbling blocks or the hiccups in terms of the implementation, effective implementation of the programs, the intervention programs by government. Sometimes it's individual. Sometimes you'd attribute to it to maybe lack of a sufficient training or targeting the wrong people to drive such initiatives. But there's more to be done in terms of what the government is offering, because the government can only do so much. But the community, the civil society, also has a role to play, including the private sector, to say, if government is providing these programs, how best can we make sure that they are effective? So that strategic partnership on the ground is very important, to say what government gives out there, it should be received and be taken forward and be filtered down as effectively as possible.
Thank you, Dokotere. Can I move to Miss Eunice Sajani? The role of the social relief grant on the vulnerable women. May Eunice, what are the challenges faced by the women when applying for social relief grant? And then if there are any challenges, how can they be addressed? Over to you, Eunice.
Thank you very much, Chair. Chair, maybe let me begin by saying this topic is closer to my heart. As a former professional nurse, I have seen and touched the emotional trauma of victims of poverty and unemployment. As a community leader in my own right, when all and sundry were silent to the patriarchal society, in the present space in my community, I was there. In my own, I felt and imagined that family in Mansville, where the mother is unemployed and the father has been retrenched. My intervention of facilitating that they receive a grant so that they can make ends meet. As a lifeline patron, I feel called that in the main were vulnerable women. As an activist and an administrator in Mohali City local municipality, I dealt with the state on a daily basis. So as I say, the topic is close at my heart. Chair, who are these vulnerable women? Mostly these vulnerable women are black and poor. They are susceptible to the winds of the economy and other degrading systems such as patriarchy. They are not just mere statistics, they are mere human beings. They are where they are because of the structural pillars of the society. Often only because they were not born like that, but because they did not do anything wrong about it, and they are there, not that they wanted to be there. What do they get out of their situation? Clearly, they cannot be said to be irresponsible or lazy. You know, some people will say, no, they are lazy, they don't want to look for a job, they don't want to fend for themselves. It is not like that. The type of jobs that they get, mostly it's domestic work. And not me and me, we are the ones who are always at fault because we are not paying them the way they're supposed to be paid. And some of them are informal traders with a little support and lot of harassment also. And others are transactional sex, that is the sex workers. Like my colleague, Dr. said, you will find that these women end up, giving themselves into older men who will abuse them just for them to get something to put on the table. Who do they support? They support their extended families, also men due to high unemployment rate. And of course, currently we are faced with a lot of retrenchments and unemployment of everything. There's a phone that is disturbing me. I don't know which phone that. And I want to touch on what government is doing as far as this is concerned. And I must say, government is doing much, and these grants, they do make a difference to these women. Women receive social grants of distress, that is unemployed women. Others, they receive the child support grant, and they look after their children. What can be done to assist these women? As I say, surely the government grant must be seen as an assistance to these women. They are building on the foundation of these women, and they are also enhancing their dignity. So they must not be that vulnerable. And this grant also, they are being seen as an investment in women, providing some stimulus to local economy. And I think we also need to be careful about stigmatizing language that we use. Because also with us, government also give us grants, that is the middle and the rich. And we don't call them grants or relief. We call them tax rebates for medical aid. We call them education subsidies for tertiary institutions. We call them employment grants, and currently the COVID-19 rebuilding funds or grants. So we need to be very careful because these women, they are also having dignity. So when the government is giving you these grants, we have to be careful and we have to be mindful that they are being given this so that they can earn a living. Lastly, I want to indicate that for government giving social relief grants to women, especially this time during COVID-19, this is being viewed as an investment in women. And this investment is being done throughout the country at large. We can also start talking about how do we make them more meaningful and not whether they have value to these women. So I must mention that these grants that or social relief that government is offering to vulnerable women, They are very important, and women do appreciate it. I will cite an example. Yesterday, the deputy president was in Kagiso, and I saw on social media in one platform, yeah, community of Kagiso, where women were saying, hey, those of you who are there, can you check with the deputy president as to when we're getting our 350 grants? So you can see that they appreciate what they're getting from government, and you can see that they see that this social relief grants, they make a difference to their life. And in closing, Chair, if you give a woman a task, a woman will perform that task. If you have women raising children, indeed they will raise these children to be the better citizen. So on that note, I want to say we need to do much in ensuring that we look after these vulnerable women. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Sis Eunice. Melerato, from the experience of the last month looting, Melerato, Priscilla, what campaigns can the state come with to discourage the burning of the schools, burning of the roads, and burning of the clinic during the unrest?
Thank you, Chair, for the question. I think we have a culture of mostly putting all tasks to the government. But we as people can clearly see that burning of schools, burning of public places are going to put us in an awkward situation. Because, for example, if you burn a clinic, what are you hoping to happen when people get sick? Where are they going to go to get their medication? There are people who are suffering right now because of such places, you know, they're not able to access medical resources because clinics were burned down. Schools are now burned down. Kids are not going to school. They are not able to get their nutritional meals else at school. You would find that a family is not able to find employment, but with the kids going to school and getting those meals, it's a less burden on the family knowing that kids are able to get food at school. So I think as much as we want to put everything on the government's hands, we also have to use our common sense and understand by destroying public places, we are destroying ourselves as well. Thank you, Chair.
Priscilla, do you have a campaign in mind, a slogan of a campaign to try to discourage the society in terms of burning infrastructure of the state, which belongs to them?
Well, from the top of my head, I could say, burn a school, burn yourself, because the future is in the school. So if you burn those places, you're burning your future. Burn a school, burn yourself.
Thank you for that slogan, Priscilla. Can we go to
Thank you, Chair.
Apostolic area? From the perspective of the vaccination, what will be the reason for people refusing to receive the COVID-19 vaccine?
The reasons for people refusing vaccination is these conspiracy theories or these myths or misinformation. Like I said, in terms of the Bible, people perish because of lack of knowledge. So if people are not empowered enough, then they will always believe in these conspiracy theories. More than any other thing is these conspiracy theories, whereby you find that people believe that after 2 years having received the vaccination, women can become infertile. They will no longer be able to bear children, as much as they want. And it's another thing. And there is also peer group pressure from women that you find that when they are seated around because of this unemployment, being unemployed without any other thing to do, there is a lot of peer group pressure that comes from such systems where people influence one another and they watch even these social media, things that comes, like for instance, you see a woman, there is this video that goes around that is very much going around, and people are saying that when they look at this woman is saying, I'm a former nurse, or I'm a nurse actually, that has been robbed of being practicing what God has given me because of the vaccine. And now here am I, this woman is limping. She's saying she can't move, she can't even, she looks like a person that has had a stroke. And this woman will be, demonstrating to say that I can't even talk properly because of the vaccination. So those are conspiracy theories that come through. I think also the government could actually look at that who comes around and come and claim that they've got these side effects because of having had the vaccine. Especially, there is also what also prevents these women or having this attitude of having of refusing to take vaccines. It's because even gender-based violence is also a contributor factor. There's a lot of our women, especially with this economic negative economic impact that has happened to our country, where people are not women are not economically active. Women are not working. A lot of women are not working. And thus they are subjected to gender-based violence. In terms of COVID-19 vaccine, they are threatened by their partners, who, if you can have, you look at the statistics, there is a lot of women, more women are vaccinated than men, because these men are afraid themselves of inoculation. And they believe that vaccinated women are carriers of the virus which infect men. So these women they infect them. So thus you find that women are afraid to go and be vaccinated because they will be assaulted, they will be kicked out of their homes. Those are things that we need to look at, especially even when we deal with gender-based violence. There is also people refuse to go there, because of their employment conditions as well. You find that an employer will say, you are going to work, they give them this unholy working hours without them taking day out. And poor women, you find that they are unable to take time off to go and vaccinate. And also at the same time, this negativity of being anti-vaccine is being instilled in their minds for them not to be able to vaccinate. I think basically that's why the attitude that we have with women not wanting to be vaccinated.
Thank you for the response, Apostolic. I just wanted to find out from you again that what are the challenges faced by us as women to access the COVID-19 vaccine, if there are any?
there are challenges, like for instance, as I was saying, challenges as women where you find that our working hours, there are still women who do sleep over work, and their employers don't want them to go and to take day offs. So, you know, in such instances, you find that people have got this challenge as a woman. You want to go and vaccinate, but here is Mrs. He's saying you cannot take a day off, otherwise you lose your employment. Another thing is that the challenge that we find women being faced with in terms of going to vaccination centers is inaccessibility to facilities. Others will complain that you have to walk long distances to the vaccination center. We've got people that are living on the outskirts of a township, you know, in the RDPs, and they've got to walk to the vaccination center that is in the middle of the township. So walking distance as well, inaccessibility to facilities as well. The challenges that we find, as I say, also is the fact that women are financially embarrassed, and thus it makes them to depend on their partners. So it's a challenge that we find ourselves in, and it makes women not being to become independent and be able to use what she has and be able to go out and do that. I had somebody saying that one of the panelists saying that, you know, like for instance the spaza shops in the townships, because of the looting as well, you know, the township economy has gone down. The businesses are closed, and the few women that were employed in those businesses, they are unable to. Now it makes them to be dependent upon their partners who refuse them to go and inoculate, saying that they were, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Apostolic Aria. Doctor, from the stats of the gender-based violence presented by the South African Police Services, it shows an increase in terms of domestic violence and also sexual harassment. What support and help are provided to abusive men to address challenges that lead to the abusive nature? Doctor?
Thank you very much, Honorable Alfina, Chairperson. You know, addressing the plight of men and raising the boy child in a proper manner are very important and key. I like a quote that I came across while fiddling with my document. It says it is easier to build strong children than to repair broken men. The initiatives are appreciated. It's not going to be an easy journey to try and give support to the men, but we appreciate organizations that have been formed by men, like Men Against Gender-Based Violence, and the stakeholder that was presenting yesterday in this very platform. Such initiatives go a long way. The issue of counseling and the approach that it should take becomes very key in terms of addressing the issue of men. The various organizations that are on the ground, which in most instances you find that they have challenges of resources and mobility, you know, to move around and implement these intervention initiatives, needs to be looked into to say, how can, as a collective, stakeholders, government, communities, business, private sector come together to ensure that we we put our resources into the same pot and be able to get the best outcome of that situation. It's going to take long to address the issue of men in order to reduce the scourge of gender-based violence, because remember that their frame of reference, where they come from at home, might still be one of the issues that are preventing them from seeing the world with different eyes. The structure of society, the patriarchal dominance which is in society, are still some of the challenges that when we take these approaches as partners with government, we need to see how best we can address these issues. The faith-based organizations, you know, the religious fraternity becomes key in terms of making sure that we succeed in our attempt to address the issue of men, to reduce SGB and all kind of forms of violence against women in society. Education, the education system is one other area that needs to be looked into, to say, how do we, as partners, as stakeholders, including led by the government in this instance, because we're speaking of education in the schools, infuse into the education system empowerment or capacitating approaches to the young boys who are still at school while they are at a tender age, to be able to enlighten them regardless of the background that they come from, because you might find that in the morning that particular young boy was going to school, there was an incident of violence against his mother at home. And how do you then talk to this child and teach the child how not to repeat or to copy what the parents are doing, or how do you instill a change of mindset into this particular a young boy? The places where they do extramural activities, we infuse all of these programs into such areas, but also getting a database of all people that are involved, including organizations, because it's not only organizations that deal with such issues, it's individuals as well who work in the individual rights, to ensure that we come together and address the issue of men. Hence, I'm saying addressing the issue of men is not going to be really easy, because it's a whole lot of factors that are at play. It's the culture, it's institutionalized, it's religion, it's all sorts of beliefs. It's the current challenges that we are facing, which you know also impact on the progress that we can make in the GBV a kind of environment. The previous speakers have alluded to issues of COVID-19 and its impact, you know, the loss of work, of employment, you know, being economically impacted negatively, some children not being able to go to school. That on its own brings a heavy burden upon the men, because they still believe that as men they have to be providers. It brings a burden upon women because they look to the men to provide for them when the situation does not allow that to happen. The issues of looting that have happened, which have impacted negatively on communities, because now they have to travel far to go and get whatever, and their local small businesses that used to intervene when there are families that are unable to get anything, you know, interventions which have in a way been able to prevent the violence against women, have been removed through the current challenges that we've been facing as a society and as the world at large. Thank you very much. I don't know if
Thank you. Members of the public, you give given the chance to speak, to ask questions. I'm still now with the panelists to share some of the things which they are, in terms of the topic which we have allocated them. Caroline, I just wanted you to share with us that fighting in front of our children. You were saying abusive words in front of the children. How are we going to help these children and support them to avoid them to proceed being abused in future? How can we help them? Because already these children, they are from an abusive family, learning abusive things. How are we going to help them? I just want to hear from you and support them for the future.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Yes, indeed, it is one of issues that are glaring at our faces to say, how do you address the issue of these young growing up boys who be future men, who supposedly would be future leaders in our country. Considering the situation that they are faced with, where they find themselves in the middle of parents, mother and father, fighting in front of the child. And because it doesn't end, the fight doesn't end, the violence doesn't end between the parents. It also impacts on the child, because the child would be crying and trying to stop the whole thing. And whatever reaction that the parents, lash towards the child, it's another thing. Sometimes they also get beaten in the process. Because now it's an emotional situation. So the first thing that we need to do is to continue with these workshops that we are doing as NGOs, especially ourselves, my NGO, running the trainings of empowerment, is to be able to try and reach out as much as possible to the ground. And, the churches, when it comes to the boy child, the churches become very key, because most of the people where this violence is perpetrated, which would be mostly in the township, not meaning that it doesn't affect the other people in the society. They attend church. They can get help from the churches. Now, the government programs of intervention and transformation should be able to target the institutions that are nearby to where these children are staying. And educating is going to be a process, but taking various forms of education to, firstly, the parents, education on what culture means, education on what religion means, and why it is important to prevent children from being exposed to this kind of violence at their homes, so that they don't also become part of the cycle when they grow up and become perpetrators or end up being street children, and being people who perpetrate rape and all those forms. The situation is not as easy to push as it might sound, but if we take it one day at a time, we will be able to bring about change ultimately. Using local radio, because they do listen to local radio, and have programs that are targeted at the children and at families as a collective, using the people that we call celebrities, people who are popular in society, people who have a good standing in society, people who are influential, to be able to come forward and part of this whole process of intervening in the educating and addressing the issue of the plight of the boy child. All these things would be able to assist the centers, transform these centers where they are overnight shelters for women, to utilize them because they are nearer to the communities, to utilize them for access to information on what really violence and gender-based violence is. Be able to unpack that, be able to dissect the types of people that we have in our communities, and be able to build that network in the fight against gender-based violence, which the children become exposed to at home and at school. Because even at school, those teachers are parents. They come from homes. They experience this violence. They go to the classroom carrying that bitterness or anger, and they take it out on the children. And the children become caught in two worlds. In the world where it is at home, where they experience the violence, they go to school, they experience the violence from the teacher, who is also a victim or the perpetrator. So now, when we address the issue of the plight of the boy, it means we have to do it at settings, so that there is a link between the child who experiences violence at home and experiencing violence at the education institute, so that they don't find themselves stranded and not knowing where exactly to run to, or what exactly they should be able to do in order to defend themselves or to understand what really is happening. The psychological effect of violence that is experienced by the children, it goes a long way. It has a very, very great impact on the child, because they also suffer the same way that the older people are suffering. The same impact that is experienced by the older people is experienced by the child. Hence, we find ourselves having bullies in the communities, at school, and in the churches as well, where you find that the children become bullies. The pastors, also the men of the globe, who are also affected by violence. It's not gender-based. I'm saying that they also are human beings. They experience these things. They become perpetrators. So now we should be able to find a common ground where we are able to sift these issues and see how best we can address the plight of the boy child.
Thank you, Doctor.
Thank you.
Now, Caroline, maybe
Pardon?
maybe I'm coming to you now.
Yes.
Will this social relief grant be a long-lasting solution to women affected by poverty and unemployment, my sister?
Due to COVID, I would say it must continue, because we are not sure how long is this virus going to be with us. However, we also need to have interventions. For example, I'm working for a municipality, and I think the municipality must ensure that they include women's programs in their agencies, so that they can be able to address this issue of vulnerable women who are unemployed and poor. So means in their budgets and in their planning, they should include women's programs that will address this vulnerable women. And I must say, for me and citizens who are middle class, I think it will be proper for us also to show love and compassion to these vulnerable women. For example, I am married by a reverend of Lutheran Church. And in our church, I encourage women that during weekends when they go and buy the groceries, they must ensure that they also include the non-perishable items. And I have put a box at the next to the left of the pulpit, when every month end, women of the church and men also join. They put all the non-perishable items in that box. And our church is based in the inner city, and we serve the community that is around our church. So that's compassion. And also maybe put a box uh, where women will put all those non-perishable items. And also at our place, maybe put a box where women will be able to give their clothes that they don't need. And we are not saying they must give us old clothes. No. Sometimes people tend to change their own clothes, so their clothes are still okay. They bring clothes, they put them in that box, and we identify those families, that's poor that need to be clothed. So we need to show that compassion and love because we are members of the community before we are professionals, So we need to know communities. I mean, for example, also adopt a family that is poor in community. We know those communities, those families, and ensure that you take them through, you help them, to apply for those grants and so forth. So I'm saying this social behavior. For me, I feel for now they should say they should be budget for that because as I say we are not sure how is this COVID-19 going to be as. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. Eunice. I just wanted to find out, you summarize for us and the member of the public, that how can women be empowered further while they are still receiving this grant?
Okay. I think women can be empowered through training. When in our SMS department, we encourage women to form those cooperatives. And maybe also ensuring that, young women that couldn't continue their education or their studies, they are also being brought into programs of FE colleges where they can go back to school and study, And it's little things like baking skills, give them skills that will make them to fend for themselves. And I think one of the candidates also indicated that women are good in terms of savings. I I can get a 350 and save 50 cents every month. So come end of the year, I have at least 3,000 rand that I will also be able to fend family or even my extended family, during Christmas time. So basically, those are the issues that we can be able to assist those women, give them skills, include them in our programs as government, budget for them and ensure that, they are giving those skills to fend for themselves. Thank you.
Thank you, Ma'am Eunice. Apostolic, what would be your recommendation towards in order to improve the access of the women to COVID-19 vaccine? What can you recommend, Apostolic?
Madam Chair. Madam Chair. Madam Chair.
Ma?
I'm so sorry that I had to that like this. We are not hearing anything. I think there's the phones that are on or the the members of the panelists, maybe they did not switch off their mics.
Okay.
May Eunice Haramutwa from the presentation, even now when she was answering your question, and we really wanted to hear her inputs, but honestly speaking, we had nothing. Hence, earlier I raised my hand. I just wanted Ma.
Kim Matapel.
Yes.
Okay, Matapel.
Do you hear me, Madam Chair?
Yeah, I can hear you, Matapel.
Yes, I'm saying we don't hear. There's a phone that is beeping. I suspect that they are, I'm not sure it's from the panelists who are not switching off their mics. We did not hear May Eunice at all. Haramukwa, even when she started doing her presentation, her presentation was disturbed by the phone that is continuously beeping and the fact that other mics are on. So we are failing to, I know that her inputs are very important and would like to take some out of them, but we are failing because of the system is sabotaging us, or what is happening, I don't know.
Yeah, thanks for raising that, Matalo. I'll maybe it's technology. I'll request Mom Eunice, after I've done with what I'm doing, to give her another 5 minutes to try and summarize so that the member of the public should get the gist of the information which she's sharing with us as a panelist. Sorry for that. And can I find out from the technology people, Dumisan, is our technology up to standard?
Yes, Chair. Chair, am I audible?
Yes, you are audible, Dumisan.
Yes, Chair. I think from the 4 panelists, those whose mic are on, just have to check and put their phones on silence. It's a beeping phone that is it's not on silent. They just need to put it on silent, and otherwise the flow and everything is nice. Thanks, Chair.
Thanks,
But through you, Dumisani, there is an echo when I speak, and there is something, there's a sign, a circle sign inside my name. I don't know, maybe that's the one that is causing a problem. Because when I look at other people, that sign is not there. Don't on me.
Yeah, there's an echo, Eunice, while we are speaking.
That's what I'm saying, there's this sign. I don't know, maybe the problem is this thing that is in the circle around me.
Okay, Craig,
Craig,
can you please advise? Could you please advise, or try and advise Eunice what to do and what is that sign?
Unit?
Yes, I'm listening.
Yes, there's still an echo, Jumisa. Can we proceed while the technical people are helping Eunice? Tularanyo, you like to speak? Tularanyo noted.
Thank you, Chair. It might be because the speaker has 2 or more gadgets, one or more than one gadget.
No, I'm using my phone, my laptop.
Only your phone, okay. On the chat box, we have our MTN people who are trying to assist. Maybe just look over there and then they'll be able to answer your questions regarding technical challenges. Thanks.
Thank you, Tularanyo. Can we move to Nekibulela Me Aria? As we are requesting that you give us the recommendation in order to improve the access to women for COVID-19 vaccine site. Over to you, Apostolic.
Once more again, let me say thank you for this opportunity again, Honorable Chairperson. The recommendations in order to improve access of women to COVID-19 vaccines, they are based on the problems that they encounter. I would recommend that we have increased vaccination centers for them to be accessible to the users in our townships, in the rural areas, and etc. Because in townships, in rural areas, there is more population there. So obviously we'll need increased vaccination centers. Number two, in terms of those unholy hours that especially our domestic workers find themselves being subjected to, I believe that we need to rope in the trade unions to ensure that such employers are brought to book. Labor legislations needs to be implemented, such as the Basic Conditions of Employment Act, Labor Relations Act. This is one time whereby, as South Africans, we really need to care for our people. This is a time whereby, as South Africans, we need to, which is another recommendation, to be united and stand against, unfair labor practices, to stand against misinformation, to stand against unfounded conspiracy theories, and empower people with relevant information. We need to empower women with facts, scientifically proven facts, that there is nothing that a vaccination such as COVID-19 can render a person infertile. We need to empower women to be assertive and not arrogant, of course, to realize that they can make their own decisions without losing their marriages or relationships, without losing their place of, where they can call home. Because women are afraid to find themselves, without a home, being homeless, because of so many things. That includes even now the COVID-19. Our women are no longer assertive. Our women are, psychologically negative, because of the fact that the impact that this COVID-19 has brought on women, because they care for children, they care for grandchildren, who are most of the time out of the school as a result of this virus. And you find that many a time, these children are delinquent. They're infected at school, and in fact, parents or grandparents, let me say mothers or grandmothers, because women are the ones that are carers of children. They are child minders. So at the end of the day, it is these children that are giving them headaches. It is at home where the partner also demands, things that are out of this world. The people that are caring for these children are women who are overburdened. I believe that the church should be recognized as an essential service and not as a firefighter, in terms of a place of provision, in terms of also spiritual upliftment as well, in order to reduce this psychological burden that has affected women.
Thank you, Apostolic. Thank you, ma'am.
Can I say the last thing first?
Yes.
Lastly, awareness campaigns for women that should include men, of course, with the aim of changing the mindset of both parties. We've heard that with gender-based violence, that We need to take along our boy child, because this gender-based violence starts from a very tender age. He saw a father beating up the mother and going back to school. Awareness campaigns are imperative, especially to empower women. And this should include men, that they should see, it's about time that they see light. Thank you very much, Chairperson.
Yeah, thank you, Apostolic, for raising an issue that we need to rope in the trade unions to be able to assist our household executive. The domestic workers, usually I'm calling them the household executive, so that they should be able to be assisted in terms of addressing the issue of the time in, time out at their different workplace. Can we go to Dr. Caroline? Dr. Caroline, based on the challenges which we are experiencing with the scourge of the gender-based violence, which is all over in the workplace, outside the workplace, I just wanted to find out that how do you see the criminal justice assisting the victims in support during their cases? Caroline? From your own perspective, Caroline, are you seeing that victims are adequately supported by the criminal justice?
Thanks, Chairperson. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear
Yes,
you.
definitely.
And
Thank
I
you
can
so much.
see you.
It is paramount, you know, it is of paramount importance that the justice system comes to the play as a key role player here. There is nothing as painful as justice denied on the side of the women. The laws that are made in our countries, the legislation, all sorts of interventions that are done from government needs to be rolled out properly and in a very efficient manner. You see, when women are abused, their rights are violated at home, they can't sometimes, or in most instances, even run to the relatives. Their only place of refuge becomes the justice system, to say, when they present their cases to the justice system, from the ground level, where they go to the SAPS, to the South African Police, to report their case, throughout until the case is presented in court. That is a very sensitive process that must be handled with the utmost sensitivity that it requires. What perpetuates this violence and what increases these numbers of GBV is part of it is some of these things that happen when women feel that justice is not served, or dissatisfaction about the judiciary, how they handle these cases. They need support in all forms. The judiciary must handle the cases, the judiciary must advise, the judiciary needs to educate as well, and to make proper recommendations. The post-trauma situations, when such reports are written, the judiciary needs to have an opportunity to make an input into those things, because they experience firsthand these victims. Now, there are two victims here. The victim is the abused and the perpetrator. Now, the justice system needs to bring to the middle ground these two people to say, how do we help the victim, as well as how do we help the perpetrator? We punish, yes, but let's prevent the cycle from further happening. So now that is the role of the judiciary, to say, how do they do this thing? And the reports of the judiciary, because what I have noticed from my experience is that taking the matter forward in trying to address the issue of the victims of violence, which would be the women and the girls, is that there is no interconnection between me as an NGO, me as a government, me as another stakeholder, and me as the judiciary, to say, how do we share that information of the experience? Because now the judiciary has an opportunity to hear some of the things that are raised by these victims, which we might not have had an opportunity to hear. So now, when we do those reports and do the assessment, we should be able to consolidate such information so that it assists us moving forward as a collective to say, at what point are we going to be able to come up with solutions based on the assessment that was done from the content, that we put together. So also the rollout of the programs and education kind of programs, empowerment programs about the role of the judiciary and rebuilding the trust between the victims and the judiciary, between the communities and the judiciary and any other stakeholder that is involved, becomes key. Because now if one person experiences a negative response from the judiciary, it becomes a problem, because now there is a loss of trust. She goes to the sake, I'm the victim, I go to the next person and tell them, no, don't report your case.
Doctor, summarize, Doctor.
Yes, thank you very much. Because you want to receive the outcome that you are expecting. So the role of the judiciary becomes very, very important in this instance, to say they should use all the resources that they have. The courts should not be only for the hearings, but if there was a victim that attended, whose matter was attended in court, there must be a post hearing process or post-support process that takes place from the judiciary into another structure or whatever institution it is, where we'll be able to share such information.
Thank you. Priscilla, what message can you send to the community to preserve the state facilities which assist them? Before I take the public, what message can you send to the community, Priscilla?
Thank you, Chair. For a minute there, I thought you forgot about me. In respect of time, I will quickly say to the community, if you burn a school, a hospital, or any other public facility like a library, you are putting yourself in a negative situation, because those facilities are there to service you as a community member. So in prevention of that, we need to also be aware of how we use those places. For example, we are staying in a township of Kagiso. If a hospital is burned, it means people have to get inside taxis and go to different places where they will have to use those facilities. And unfortunately, as it is, we are already crowded in our townships. So for example, you get people waking up at 4 o'clock just to be at an appointment of 9 o'clock at a hospital. So the queuing process will also work against you. The campaign that I believe that we should run in our communities should be linked with our councillors. Okay, I'm getting a distraction of a phone ringing. Okay. I also think that we should be in touch with our councillors as community members to also know about what is currently happening in our wards, because every ward has a public building. For example, we have churches, we have schools, we have clinics. So we need to also learn how to preserve those things, knowing that in the greater side of things, those things service us. So yeah, with that, thank you very much, Chair. In respect of time, I just wanted to be quick and brief. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Priscilla, for highlighting that the community, the member of the public should know that whatever they are doing, if they are burning the infrastructure which is around them, they should know that they will have to double the expense by going to another area and also the waiting period in the clinic it will be long. I'm now taking hands.
Thank you. Chair, can I distract you there for a minute? Sorry about that.
There must be order. Is a dialogue.
Sorry, Chair. I apologize.
Can I finish? Can I finish? I'm saying that now I'm going to give the participant who were not the panelist the chance to raise questions or give inputs or point of clarification. Priscilla, do you want to? Was it Priscilla? Do you want?
Yes, Chair.
Yes.
Yes, Chair. And in addition to everything that I said, I believe that in our communities, the level of unemployment is high. And that is because of skills shortage. It's not that there are no jobs out there. It's that it's unfortunate that there's a higher number of people who don't acquire the skills to be employed. So my plea to the government is that within the age group of 18 to 35 who are currently getting skills that are making them favorable for employment, can they kindly please extend those age criteria to a higher number, because we have women between the ages of 36 to 55 who are currently, not even 55, 59, who are currently staying at home with their parents. They don't have jobs. They are unemployable because of lack of skills. So my plea to the government is that when they are doing skills development program, can they please also open a window to the elderly, the elder women within higher age groups, so that they can get similar opportunities to also advance themselves. Because not every woman wants to be part of a sewing group. Not every woman wants to be part of a gardening group. They also want to have professions just like everybody else. I'm not saying that I'm undermining those who are part of sewing groups or anything like that, but we are dreamers. We have aspirations as women, and it would be so great if the government can also be on our sides, because as a lot of women in the panel have stated, you give a woman money, you give a community. If you give a woman a favorable chance of employment, you are improving a family's livelihood, because really one as basadi. When I go ahead, I also cover my family. So thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Priscilla. Dumisan, I want to take the public, but I'm using a phone. I'm afraid that when I go to check the hands, I might be kicked up by video. The first time I've noted Matapelo, can I get the people who want to say something? Matapelo, do you still want to say something?
Yes, Chair.
Yes, Matapelo.
Oh, okay. Chair, I'm Matapelo Ndlovu, a community development worker in Magaliesburg, Ward 31. Chair, I want to make inputs on the GBV issue. You know, in each and every dialogue or sitting or GBV campaign, we always, as women, speak of one thing: the treatment that victims are getting when they get to police stations. And we don't see anything happening in regard to that. We don't see any change. Our CSC officers, you'd get a police constable who's just new, who just came back from college. She's in the front desk, or he's in the front desk. You are a victim of GBV. They don't know how to assist you. They don't know how to, because this is a very sensitive issue. This is an issue where but for other people to, the stigma around it's very high. People are not just free to speak openly. And if you come across someone who doesn't understand how to handle you, you are being violated on top of that. And there's this issue of FCS, where I would speak from a perspective of where I'm residing and working, which is a rural area. You are in Magaliesberg. FCS officers are based somewhere in Randfontein at late, where the GBV cases are always, most time are happening at night. FCS will tell you that they are on standby, or sometimes when you get to the police station, they phone them. They'd be telling that I'm just waking up, I was sleeping, I'm on standby. When they come, they make you as a victim feel like you are at fault. You woke them up at night, and it becomes quite a traumatic thing that our communities are going through. So really, Chairperson, if the issue of the reporting when we get to the police station, if it can be addressed, if the victims can be treated more respectfully, most people will go and report. And people sometimes are afraid, because when they are in that community service center in front of everyone, they know that someone can just come and they'll tell the partner that I was there, or people would know what had happened to me. It becomes a challenge. The other issue is the issue of social development. Uh, from my area, I've got a very serious issue when it comes to social development. Magaliesberg, it's a rural area. It's Magalies, Taralton, and Hegwoord clustered. We don't have a single social worker from social development that is based in one of these areas. And we have many cases that speaks to child abuse, that speaks to GBV, that speaks to issues that 1 minute you need a child to be removed from the house at that time. You don't know what to do. There was an instance where there was a child was assaulted by the uncle because the child had wet the blankets, and the child was bruised from the back, and the mother did not want to open a case against the uncle because the uncle is the brother. Then I communicated with the social crime officer. She's a lady. She came. When she got to the family, the mother was like, I'm not going to open a case against my brother. I'm not going to get involved. The social crime took the child. She had to take the child to the clinic. When she went to the clinic with the child, the mother went to the police station to open a case against the officer to say she has kidnapped her child. So at that time, when you go to social development, already we have given up in terms of the social worker that they always send to us as the one dealing with children's cases. So those are the challenges that we are facing. And the other thing, Chair, I think we really need the government and all as civil society, we really need to come up with strategies. It's not enough for us to only speak of women empowerment, and yet there is nothing, there's no implementation of anything that speaks to empowering women. My suggestion in terms of that, the speakers, the panelists, have been speaking about the dependency on men because of unemployment. Women are trapped in relationships, are trapped in situations. They don't know how to move out of those because they are depending on these people who are abusing them. If we can go back to our government should stop the focus of building malls. They built big malls, and we don't have the power to go and participate in those malls. For me to go to a mall for a woman from Magaliesberg, from here to Krugersdorp is 30 km away. From Krugersdorp, the nearest mall is in Key West, is 45 to 50 km away. A woman who has never had any employment, who has never had any access to skills, how do they access those? So I would really wish our municipalities, our government, to start building factories so that we can produce, so that there can be employment, women can be empowered. Young kids, when they grow, they should be taught, like the Gauteng GDE, our MEC has shifted the issue of saying, let us have schools of specialization. When a child leaves the school, must have a certain skill. Like the minister said, that not all of us are academics. Some of us, there's somewhere where we would end. But when I end in grade 7 with a certificate, if I don't have a skill, what am I going to do with that? Let me pause here, Chairperson. Those were my comments.
Thank you, Matapelo, for the inputs. Are you saying to us that there is no single social worker who's at Mahalis, who's stationed at Mahalis, in terms of the different categories of social work?
There is, in terms from social development.
Yes,
Yes, from social development, there's no social worker who's stationed. There's a social worker that would say, when the case come, they would be sent from Krugersdorp at a district office, but there's no stationed social worker in Magaliesburg.
Okay, thanks for that, Matapelo. You'll get my number, ne? We'll communicate.
Thanks, Chair.
Okay. Any other person who want to give input? Dumisan, I'm handicapped. I'm afraid that if I go and check the hands, I might be kicked off. Any other participant who want to give us an input? Or who want to raise a question? If there are none, I'm going to give the panelists 2 minutes each to give us a summary in terms of the dialogue. What are they recommending? And what are they suggesting to the community of Mogale, of Westrand? And what are the programs which they are envisaging to take the topic which they were discussing with the members of the public further? Lastly, where can the public find them when they need assistance on whatever which can affect them? While they're preparing themselves, the 4 panelists, members of the public of Westrand, it's not easy sometimes to solve some of the issues, particularly the gender-based violence and femicide. I just wanted to share with you that I'll be saying that I'm one of the victims and a survivor of the gender-based violence from the university while I was a student. I understand the attitude of the victims towards this. And I'm also a survivor of the abuse in the political arena. You know that if you are a woman and you want to participate in certain position in the politics, you know it very well that you need to be a hard nut to crack so that it will be able to represent the women on issues which are affecting them. While I'm waiting for my panelist, Dumisani, is Ntatem Papa in, Honorable Papa in? Is Honorable Seho in? Dumisani? Is Honorable Mbaba in? So that we give Honorable Mbaba 2 minutes to share with us what are their programs with regard to Men's Forum. or Honorable Lesego Makhubela, because our topics links to Men's Forum, how to take care of a boy child so that the child should not be negative in handling or in playing with his colleagues in a school situation. If they are not here, I'll start with Priscilla. 2 minutes, one to Priscilla. Me Priscilla,
Hello, Chair. Thank you very much, Chair, for this opportunity.
what are you saying to the people of Westrand?
To the people of Westrand, the message that I have is that united we stand, divided we fall. We have to, from all sections of the Westrand, rekopane. We have a lot of learned people in this panels. We have a lot of people who have suggestions, and we have a lot of people who can put all those things into action. We don't have to wait for August for anything to happen amongst women. We have each other already. And now, as I currently speak, as I said, I'm a founder of an NPO called Pressure Cycle Foundation. So what I do, I've recently sent in my applications to WHCTA. And with that, I've also submitted a couple of names of people who should be receiving training. And Chair, and I'm aware that I'm sure you could have heard that I've been reiterating that skills development programs need to be expanded beyond the ages of 35. A lot of gender-based violence victims, Siddiva older, actually gender-based violence does not have an age criteria, but I believe if women, we can stand on our own financially, we wouldn't be in situations that require us just to stay for monetary reasons. So Westrand, let us unite. We have enough power. You were able to see we in our region, we were not affected by looting. So if we can stand together against such things, we can also stand together against women abuse, against shortage of skills. We can do a lot. So Westrand, let us unite. That is my message, Chair, and I thank you very much for this platform. Thank you, Westrand.
Can I get Apostolic Area? More hops?
I'm in Dark City. It's load shedding. Thank you so much once more again, Chairperson, for affording us this opportunity to be here and imparting knowledge to our people in the Westrand. I believe that the time is now where we've got to stand up as women in Westrand. We need to rid ourselves of this pull head down syndrome. We need to stand up as women and fight this monster together. I believe that together we can do it. If you're one, you'll be able to fall. I want to say that you can run alone. Alone you can run, but together with other people, you can be able to run even further than that. So I'm saying to Westrand people that this is an opportunity. This is a time that God has given us, that we can come together and bring together our gifts for us to be able to reach our destiny. On our own as women, we can be able to impact the economy of Westrand. We can actually be role models within Gauteng. If we go, we hold ourselves, hold hand in hand together. Together we can make it. Let us stand together, women of Westrand, and we can be able to empower one another with knowledge, to say that I'm not going to let you, my sister, to perish. because of lack of knowledge. We are all going to hold one another, go to that vaccination site, and to be able to prevent lives, to protect lives, and be able to grow older in order to see our children being what God has brought them on this earth for. Thank you very much, Westrand. Thank you very much, Chairperson. Thank you very much, Coordinator. Thank you very much, fellow panelists. May God richly bless you.
Thank you, Apostolic. Dr. Caroline, Siddiva.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Yes, there is so much that needs to be done in the Westrand and globally. I wish to see the communities of Westrand, of Gauteng working together. I wish to see us exchanging skills, imparting skills. I wish to see us sharing facilities and resources. If you listen to the inputs on this panel, you can hear that, one can hear that there's so much work that is happening. But as I sit here, I can say I know about the work that is done by 2 people out of the 4 in the panel. So that tells us that there is something, there's an area that we need to zoom in, which is working as a collective. We need to join hands as communities, put all hands on deck and fight gender-based violence in all its manifestations. We need to give out information to the people, use our centers, use whatever other facilities that we can to disseminate information to the communities. We need to identify issues that affect even employees in the workplace as stakeholders, to be able to see how these can be addressed in public meetings that have been organized by the government, to raise these issues so that even the employees are able to have access outside of their workplace to access to information and access to assistance and support. The political sphere is an unfortunate area that has not been touched and mostly spoken about. And there's a lot of abuse that is happening out there in the political sphere. Women are abused left and right. And it's about time that women like yourself, Chairperson, and myself speak out about these abuses, which are perpetrated not only by men, but by women themselves. How do we, in positions of leadership, abuse each other and expect to be the saviors of our communities? These things need to be spoken up. It's about time that we raise our voices on these matters. The issues of dealing with addressing the perception that the judiciary is a very scary area, a place where you go only when you need help, needs to be addressed by ourselves as a community, to be able to have programs together with them that are linked to the justice, to the courts, and which are in the local spaces, so that we are able even to sharpen our knowledge in dealing with these issues of gender-based violence and exchange ideas on how best can we implement these to prevent us as communities and as a business to depend on the government to be feeding us, to avoid the situation where we always rely on the government to provide. Government is the people. It is not something that is in the air, that is very far. It's not an abstract issue. The people are the government. It is the people who should initiate and come up with ideas that will be fed to the government to say, these are our views. This is how we think we can handle gender-based violence. This is how we think we are going to deal with the stigma in our communities. This is how we are going to create accountable government and accountable communities and institutions to be able to deal with gender-based violence, to avoid situations of the Magaliesbergs, where you find that people, it's not only in Magaliesberg, it happens even in all spaces that women are treated that way. I'm a victim of that. I can attest to that. I know what happened to me, which I can share some other time. So all of us, regardless of our statuses, we experience gender-based violence on a daily basis, and it is something that needs to educate us moving forward. We need to go to the schools to see how we can assist, how we can access the boy child in an environment that is conducive to engage the boy child, to talk to the boy child, to where the boy child will be able to ask questions, to speak his mind, so that we relieve the burden from the teacher, from the educators, to not to be dealing with social issues or social problem or behavioral problems of the boy child or of the girl child, but they should be able to focus their time to doing what they are there to do. We need to bring the churches closer to us, regardless of a religious affiliation, to say in a community, what is it that we can do? If we work together, if I should echo the same words from the previous speakers, if we work together, we are going to achieve more. If we become single rolling stones that will gather no more at the end of the day, it is not doing us good. Today, I might be the victim of GBV. Tomorrow, it might be you who is working alone. So it doesn't mean if we're in positions of leadership, we don't experience a GBV. Let us be champions of gender-based violence through every effort that we can, through every idea that we can bring forward and put on the table. Combine our resources so that we get make a better impact. I want to thank you, Program Director, my honorable sister, for this wonderful session, for facilitating and for being patient with us with all the glitches, which are less, of course, that we are experiencing. Is the fourth industrial revolution. We just have to jack up. I want to thank you very much. I want to thank being invited and being part of the panel. It's an opportunity that I want to take forward and make sure that whatever was discussed in this platform, it goes out. I'm going to be partnering with some of the panelists that were here in terms of dealing with other issues because we are diverse in terms of what we do in our own spaces, so that we are able to form a stronger team and a stronger leadership. And thank you very much to all people who participated in this program. I really appreciate you, and I wish you all the best in everything and good health under these circumstances of COVID-19. And may God bless all of us. God bless the women, and God protect the women and the children. God bless our country, South Africa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Caroline. And now I move to Eunice. May Eunice.
Thank you very much. I hope I'm not audible. Am I audible? Am I audible?
You are audible.
Okay, thank you very much. My parting shot would be, let us love and care for vulnerable women, because they did not choose to be where they are. They are there because of the circumstances that they find themselves in. And in doing that, we need to ensure that we give them a helping hand with possible. Yes, the social grant, social distress relief grant will be there for them. However, it's not enough. Let us also ensure that in our own spaces, we ensure that we include them in our program. As I said in my mentality, let us include women's programs in our IDPs and also budget for that, so that we can be able to give those women skills and ensure that they're also part of the economy. So on that note, I want to say, let our government continue to give women the relief distress grant, especially as I said, we are still faced with COVID-19 and we're not sure how long this monster is going to be with us. So we honestly need to get women those 350 grants so that they can be able to support their family. Not only support their family, but bring food on the table. So I want to say to women that unfortunately, I heard that you couldn't get my presentation, you couldn't hear me, but I am based in Mokati City local municipality. So anyone who wants me to share my presentation with, I will be able to access the presentation to them. However, like some of the speakers have said, as women, when we are united, we can be able to make South Africa a better place for all of us. So on that note, I want to thank the Council Legislature for inviting me as a professional to also come here and share my views on the role of the vulnerable women and see how best we can be able to assist and address their issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you, panelists and participant and also the organizers. We have come to the end of our dialogue. Let me close the dialogue officially by thanking all the organizers of the dialogue and also thank the panelists for taking their time preparing for their topics and also answering the questions which were related to their topics. And also let me thank the participant for being patient, even if we were having challenges with regard to the technology, for them not hearing some of the speakers when they were presenting the issues which are affecting them. I hope as Westrand we are going to work together as one of the recommendations from the panelists. And I will be happy, I will be encouraged to see that we are not going to work in silos, because we are from 4 different NGOs or foundations or groupings. It will be better for us sometimes to work collaboratively so that we produce information which will be able to take the people of Westrand in another level. I've learned a lot today from the topics presented, and I'm not regretting for me to facilitate the program for today, requested by the Multi-Party Women Caucus. Your recommendations will be taken further to GPL committee, which is dealing with issues which are affecting women and men. What I'm suggesting to the organizers, you were listening that one of the recommendations that we should not only meet during August, it should be a continuous thing, because challenges of women, there are a lot and they are almost daily. We should not only wait for August month and November under the 16 days of activism. Every month has a challenge which are affecting women. By saying that, thank you from the bottom of my heart, panelists, participants, and also the organizers, and also GPL. Let me go to the announcement. Tomorrow there is a national prayer I know at Westrand, Apostolic Area is one of the organizers in terms of that prayer, because the national prayer is divided into sections. The other one will be at the Union Building. And the second announcement, there is a gender-based violence dialogue at Mohali City Municipality on on Monday. And lastly, drive safe, go well home. I'm getting in another meeting now. Jimisani, thanks. The dialogue has adjourned. We'll send the recommendation to you panelists and also member who participated in this dialogue. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you so much.
Dumisa, we are logging out now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, and God bless you all. It was nice working with you, ladies.
Thank you. You're welcome.
Hi, Craig.
Hello.
How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. Yourself?
Thank you. Thank you very much. Have a lovely weekend. You can close
Thank
for us,
you.
Lorena.
And you as well. I will do that.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye.
Live streaming has stopped.